Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It is Wednesday, December 5th. Hope you've had a good day so far. We are going to jump into what we know so far about the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Before we dive into that, quick reminder, don't forget, this Saturday, 5:30 p.m., doing a big live with Amy Williams, one of the deliberating jurors in the Alec Murdaugh trial. We're going to have several content creators join us, kind of staggered in at different times, so it should be really fun. Hope to see you there. And a small update about Lori Vallow. I'll dive in a little more tomorrow when I have a chance to watch the entire hearing, but the main news is that she has been found competent to stand trial there in Arizona for conspiracy to commit murder for her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. There has not been a ruling yet of whether or not she will be allowed to represent herself. However, tomorrow there is a status conference on the case, so I will wrap both of those up tomorrow in an episode. Let's jump into the big story of the day, which is the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, 50 years old. He is a father of two. He is married. However, it seems like they have separated and are living apart. He was in New York to speak at an investor meeting. This murder happened in front of the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan very early yesterday morning. So far, they haven't established a motive, but they are looking into a possible grudge against the insurance company. What do we know about UnitedHealthcare? Well, they're the biggest insurer by market share, and they've also been the subject of a lot of protests for denying care to patients. One protest was outside of their headquarters in Minnesota, where 11 people were arrested. The company also had a big cyber attack just this February, which cost the company $872 million. His wife, Polly, said that he had been receiving some threats before his trip to New York City. What do we know about the suspect? Well, we saw him on camera, and the entire murder was caught on surveillance camera. But the suspect may have taken the subway from the Upper West Side to Midtown. At 6:17 a.m. yesterday on December 4th, the gunman was seen before the shooting buying 2 power bars and a bottle of water from Starbucks. He paid in cash for that. In the photos that were released, he is seen wearing a black hoodie, a gray backpack, and wearing a surgical mask. He's also seen on video before the murder carrying what looked to be a battery for an electric bike. The gunman was seen waiting for Brian, and what stands out to me personally is that this suspect knew exactly where Brian was staying, knew around what time he would be coming outside of that hotel, and also what door. At 6:44 a.m., Brian comes out of the hotel and starts walking down the street. At this point, you see the suspect come from behind a car, and he starts walking towards Brian, who has his back turned, and while he's still walking, the suspect shoots. You see the moment Brian feels that first shot, he kind of stumbles and then he falls. At that point, the suspect's still firing rounds. Now, once the gunman started shooting, that gun jammed a few times, but he was able to clear those with ease. To me, it says somebody knows their way around a firearm. The weapon had a suppressor on it that does muffle the sound. This could be why the weapon jammed, because suppressors can cause this if they don't have the right modifications to accommodate that suppressor. After the shooting, the suspect goes in an alleyway between 54th and 55th Street. He walked west on Avenue of the Americas and eventually got onto an electric bike and rode toward Central Park. At 6:46 a.m., the 911 call comes in, and at 6:48 a.m., officers arrive on scene, and they find Brian with gunshot wounds to his leg and his back. At the same time officers arrive on scene, the suspect is seen on surveillance in Central Park. Investigators did find a couple of pieces of big evidence near the crime scene, a phone and a water bottle. I mean, if he took a drink out of the water bottle, his DNA is going to be on there, and there could be DNA imprints on that phone as well. Another thing that investigators point out, the gunman was seen on his phone before the shooting. If they're able to get that phone unlocked, it could give a lot of insight into who he was talking to on the phone and what his activities were leading up to. Then at 7:12 a.m., Brian is pronounced dead in the hospital. Investigators found 3 9mm rounds at the scene. Each round had a word written on it: deny, defend, and depose. There is a little bit of a coincidence, or maybe not. There is a book with a similar title called Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. Now, Brian and his wife had lived separately for some time, but less than a mile apart from each other. They have 2 sons who look to be in their teens, and his wife told NBC yesterday after the shooting that Brian had been receiving threats prior to his trip to New York. She said, yes, there have been some threats. Basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage. I don't know details. I just know, he said, there were some people that had been threatening him. I can't really give a thoughtful response right now. I just found this out and I'm trying to console my children. What's new today in the investigation? They're focusing on a man who stayed at a hostel the night before the shooting on the Upper West Side, and they have released photos of the man without his face covered. Sources say he may have used a fake New Jersey ID to check in, and he paid in cash. They're also looking into the purchase of a gun in Connecticut that resembles the one in the shooting. One thing that a lot of people online noticed really quickly is the killer was wearing a pretty expensive backpack that's commonly used by photographers. The price of that goes for around $330. And in fact, the founder of the company, Peak Designs, called into the police tip line to report that was one of their products. Now, we don't know if any of this is related, but Brian was facing a Department of Justice investigation, which began last year. And the focus of that was whether UnitedHealthcare was running a monopoly and restricting competitors. Brian was also facing a lawsuit. He had been accused of insider trading and fraud. In May of this year, the City of Hollywood Firefighters Pension Fund started a complaint against Brian as well as other executives of the healthcare company. And then in October, the California Public Employees Retirement System joined in that complaint. They asked for a jury trial against UnitedHealthcare and the executives, including Brian. The accusation was that Brian did not tell investors about the Department of Justice probe before he dumped more than 31% of his stock, which netted him $15.1 million in profit. The firefighter pension fund said that executives of the company together sold over $117 million of UnitedHealthcare stock in the 4 months that they knew about the DOJ investigation, but the general public did not. The NYPD is offering a $10,000 reward for any information about the suspect, and this is going to be one to follow because as of right now, when I'm recording this, he is still at large. If they have a name, they haven't put it out there yet, but I feel like now that they've put out a photo that doesn't have his face covered, somebody somewhere is going to know who this is, and maybe they've already called in. It's going to be a matter of time before this person is found and arrested, but that's kind of the latest in this case as far as right now. If anything updates, if somebody's arrested, I'll likely do a YouTube short, so make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And if you want notifications of when I post new content, just click that little bell icon. That's it for today. Kind of a short episode, but I'm very intrigued by this case. It's such a brazen killing right there on a New York City street just before 7 a.m. It's busy. You can see cars going up and down the road in the surveillance. It's not like this is the middle of the night. And I'm just also very curious as to how this person knew where he was staying, around what time he would come out, because he was laying in wait until Brian came out, and then what door he would come out of. A lot of questions, not many answers right now, but we'll stay on top of it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. We will see you soon.